Earth had always been full of noise. Its cities buzzed with activity, its satellites hummed with data, and its signals reached far into space. Every corner of the galaxy knew Earth was alive. Humans had always spoken, traded, and explored with boldness. Then one day, suddenly, everything stopped. No radio waves, no signals, no beacons, no messages. The entire planet went silent. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations first noticed the silence with curiosity, then with unease. Young species, new to space travel, could not understand why a world so active would suddenly vanish from communication. Older species remembered stories passed down through generations. They spoke in whispers of times when humans had acted without warning, striking with precision and power when the galaxy thought they were a weak dot at the Galactic Academy. Students from different worlds watched the news feeds. The Academy was a place for learning and exploration, but today there was a different kind of lesson. Many alien students laughed at the idea that silence could be dangerous. They whispered to each other that humans could never threaten the galaxy. Some joked about it, saying Earth was probably just having a bad solar flare or some natural problem. Among them, however, were a few human students who knew better. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri were exchange students from Earth, observing quietly. They said nothing, but their calm faces gave away the tension the humans always kept in times of danger. Other students, curious, asked them questions. Jisoo's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at the feed. Yuri's fingers tapped on her tablet, checking signals that had long since stopped. They did not answer with words. Their silence spoke louder than any alarm or warning. Far below, deep inside the protective bunkers on Earth, commanders were busy. Lee Daejin and Choi Era, among the highest-ranking officers, oversaw the world's defense systems. Every device, every satellite, every fleet was accounted for. They monitored the progress of systems shutting down in a controlled way, ensuring that nothing was left to chance. Earth's silence was not accidental. It was deliberate. The galaxy did not understand this. Some speculated that Earth had suffered a disaster. Others thought the humans had been wiped out by some unknown threat. The truth was far more terrifying. Humans had never panicked, never acted without thought. They had planned, prepared, and waited until the moment was right. Silence was the first signal that something irreversible was about to happen. Alien ambassadors sent messages to Earth, but none returned. The silence deepened. Fear grew slowly in the hearts of many. The older species, those who had faced humanity before, remembered the quiet before battles long ago. They understood what silence could mean, but younger species had no such experience. The Academy students, once playful and curious, felt a creeping worry. They could no longer laugh out at Earth's surface. Ordinary humans went about their lives, unaware of the galaxy watching them. Streets were filled with people, children laughing, markets busy, and nature thriving in its small ways. But beneath this ordinary life, the world had transformed. Secret bases, hidden fleets, and underground cities waited silently. Humans had learned that the galaxy did not always respond kindly to their growth. The silence was not just a pause. It was preparation. In orbit, satellites adjusted their paths, sensors went offline, and drones were recalled. Everything that could communicate with the galaxy stopped transmitting. The silence was perfect. Not a single human signal escaped. It was not fear. It was strategy. This was humanity's way of showing that they would not be caught off guard, that they were ready for whatever the galaxy might send. Back at the Galactic Academy, students argued quietly. Some believed humans were bluffing, that Earth could not survive long without contact. Others felt a deep unease they could not explain. Park Ji-soo finally spoke softly, addressing a group of curious aliens. He said, "You do not understand. Silence is not weakness. It is readiness." Han Yuri added, We are prepared for anything. That is why we do not speak. Their words were simple, but the weight behind them was immense. Outside the academy, veteran observers in the galaxy took notice. Fleets that had been on patrol slowed their pace. Trade routes adjusted cautiously. Historians dusted off old records, remembering previous warnings about humans. The galaxy was small, but Earth had always been resourceful. The stories of humanity's past victories and survival against impossible odds returned to memory. Fear replaced amusement. Earth's silence continued for hours, days, and then weeks. Each passing moment increased tension. Galactic messages went unanswered. Civilizations that once mocked humanity now watched with growing concern. No one could know what the humans were planning, and that uncertainty was more dangerous than any known weapon. Within Earth's command centers, Li Dejin and Choi Era moved steadily. They were calm but focused, knowing that every step mattered. Fleet movements, planetary defenses, and communication systems were synchronized perfectly. Humans were not preparing to attack without cause. They were preparing to ensure their survival. The galaxy would soon understand the meaning of total readiness. Park, Jusu, and Han Yuri continued their studies at the academy, but they were no longer just students. They were silent ambassadors of a species that had long ago learned to survive against impossible threats. Every glance, every small movement, reminded those around them that humans were different. They were clever, patient, and unpredictable. For the first time, the students at the academy realized that laughter and ridicule had no place in understanding Earth. Humans had lived with constant danger, always calculating, always watching. Their silence was not a mistake. It was a statement. The galaxy had received its first warning, and though no one spoke it aloud, everyone understood. When humans were silent, it was not the calm before a storm. It was the calm of a storm already gathering, ready to change everything. And so, the first day of silence stretched on, heavy and tense. Alien civilizations waited, unsure and anxious. Earth seemed quiet, ordinary even, but beneath the surface, a vast web of preparation unfolded. No one knew what would happen next, but the galaxy sensed that when the humans spoke again, it would be a voice that could not be ignored. For now, Earth went on silently, the first chapter of a story that would soon reshape the galaxy forever. The galaxy had never seen a silence like this. For weeks, no signals came from Earth. The lack of communication puzzled scientists and strategists. Many tried to scan the planet, to find some trace of life, some sign of activity. Yet every instrument returned only quiet readings. Nothing moved in the usual patterns, no long-range messages, no fleets or drones. The absence was complete. Historians and archivists across different systems began digging through old records. Professor Kim Sijun, a human xenohistorian, worked tirelessly to bring old knowledge to the Galactic Council. He had access to records that many civilizations had never seen. Stories of humanity's past wars, battles fought against impossible odds, and methods that had allowed humans to survive when all others thought they would fall. Among these records was something called the Quiet Line. It described a human doctrine used only in the most extreme situations. When communication failed and survival demanded action without warning. At the Galactic Council, alien leaders were skeptical. Counselor Nalin, a veteran from a technologically advanced race, dismissed the warnings. Humans are small. They cannot threaten the galaxy. This silence is nothing, he said, his voice confident but edged with concern. Others agreed at first. Many species believed humans were clever but limited, their fleets too small and their reach too short. Yet whispers of older, long-lived species reminded the Council that humans were survivors. They had faced extinction before and had always come back stronger. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Academy, students watched these discussions with fear and disbelief. Younger species still joked, thinking humans could not pose a threat. The alien students were full of confidence, unaware of the centuries of human strategy, patience, and planning. Park Jisoo and Han Yuri observed quietly. Jisoo's eyes were fixed on the council feed, calculating, remembering lessons humans had learned over centuries. Yuri's hands moved lightly over her tablet, noting details that no one else seemed to see. They remained silent, letting the chaos unfold around them. Beyond the academic halls, the galaxy itself began to feel tension. Some alien civilizations started pulling back from borders near human space. The older species, those who had survived human expansion centuries ago, began quietly preparing their defenses, evacuating colonies, and rethinking trade routes. They remembered humans had a way of striking without warning, of hitting where it hurt most, and then disappearing without trace. The younger species watched these preparations with confusion, unsure why anyone would fear Earth. On Earth, life continued as normal on the surface. Streets were full of ordinary humans. Children played in parks, and markets buzzed with trade. To outsiders, it seemed that nothing had changed. But below the surface, Earth was a different world. Deep underground bunkers, hidden fleets, and secure command centers were active, running smoothly and silently. Every detail was managed by humans who had learned the importance of preparation. Every satellite, every spacecraft, every defensive measure was in place, ready for any eventuality. Lee Daejin and Choi Era oversaw the operation from the central command hub. They coordinated each element, ensuring synchronization across the globe. Every human in a position of command knew their role. Humans were not panicking. They were preparing. The silence was deliberate, a signal to the galaxy that Earth was no longer just a planet to be observed. It was a power to be respected. Each day passed with careful monitoring, ensuring the world could respond instantly to any threat. Alien ambassadors continued to send messages, but none returned. With each unanswered attempt, anxiety grew. The lack of response created an uneasy tension, spreading across diplomatic circles. Some young species still joked, unable to see the seriousness. Others felt fear creeping into their minds. The oldest species were silent, their faces grim. Remembering the legends of humans striking without warning, wiping out fleets, and surviving against impossible odds, the Galactic Academy became a place of tension. Students no longer joked about Earth. Discussions were quiet and serious. Park Jisoo finally spoke in a low, calm voice to a group of curious aliens. "Silence is not weakness," he said. "It is strength. It is preparation. Humans do not act without thought, and when they do, it is final." Han Yuri nodded and added, "Everything you see now, every plan you make, every threat you think you understand, humans have already considered it. That is why we do not speak." Their words were simple, but the meaning was heavy. The alien students began to understand that they had underestimated humanity. In space, fleets of various species adjusted their movements cautiously. Trade routes were rerouted. Patrols became more frequent and cautious. Even in systems far from Earth, there was unease. Humans were no longer seen as just another species in the galaxy. Their silence was a statement, and the galaxy could feel it. Every uncontacted world, every fleet in orbit, every diplomat knew that the humans were watching and waiting, and no one could predict what would come next. Historians worked tirelessly to find patterns. Professor Kim Si-jun highlighted key moments in human history, when silence had been followed by action. Humans had survived extinction events, invasions, and natural disasters. Each time, they had waited, prepared, and then acted decisively. This pattern repeated across centuries, showing the galaxy that humans could not be underestimated. Earth remained quiet. From the outside, it seemed passive, even vulnerable. But beneath the ordinary life, every human had a role. Fleets waited in readiness. Satellites monitored space for the smallest anomaly, and defensive measures were in place. Humanity's patience was a weapon, and its silence was the first strike of that weapon. The galaxy would soon learn the meaning of this quiet strength. Alien students at the Academy realized that ridicule had no place in understanding humans. The older species were no longer silent observers. They had begun to act cautiously, respecting the power that humans could wield. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri continued to study, but their presence was now a warning. Humans were clever, patient, and prepared for anything. No one could challenge Earth without consequences. The silence stretched on, thick and heavy across the galaxy. No signals, no messages, no distractions. Just quiet and preparation. Each passing day increased the tension. Civilizations that once ignored humans now watched with growing concern. Every plan, every strategy, every hope of exploiting Earth was challenged by the reality of the quiet line. The galaxy had entered a period of uncertainty, where nothing could be predicted, and the smallest move could trigger a response unlike any before. Deep inside Earth's command centers, Lee Daejin and Choi Era coordinated their operations. Every step was calculated. Humans moved with precision and care, ensuring that when they did act, it would be final and effective. The surface continued in its ordinary pace, giving no hint of the immense preparation below. Ordinary humans went about their lives, completely unaware of the tension their planet had caused across the galaxy. Park, Ji-soo, and Han Yuri watched the changes at the Academy and in the Council with quiet pride. Their species had survived against impossible odds before, and now the galaxy was beginning to understand. Silence was humanity's strength. It was preparation, patience, and power combined. The galaxy was learning that Earth could not be challenged lightly, and the students at the Academy were witnessing history as it unfolded. The first weeks of silence ended, but the tension remained. Every alien civilization had begun to understand that humans were not weak, and silence was not vulnerability. It was strength, patience, and readiness. Earth had shown the first sign, and the galaxy would soon see the next. Every fleet, every diplomat, every observer now knew that when humans acted, it was final, precise, and unstoppable. The galaxy had felt the weight of silence, and it would never forget it. For the galaxy, the silence of Earth was no longer a mystery. It had become a warning. Yet even with this understanding, few could imagine the scale of what humans were preparing. Fleets in distant systems noticed unusual activity near the edges of human space. Observation drones disappeared without explanation. Entire patrols that had monitored borders for years were gone. There were no battles, no explosions, just absence. The humans were already moving, unseen and unheard. At the Galactic Academy, the alien students began to sense the change. The ones who had once mocked human silence now exchanged worried glances. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri continued their quiet observation, their calm presence a stark contrast to the growing panic. The humans had learned to wait, and that waiting was a tool more powerful than fleets or weapons. Every action the galaxy took was being considered, every mistake anticipated. Professor Kim Si-jin continued his work, connecting past human victories with current strategies. He showed the Council data from centuries ago, battles where humans had struck suddenly, defeating enemies far stronger and more numerous. These records were not legends. They were proof that humans understood patience and timing in ways no other species did. Now, that patience was in action again. In the command centers beneath Earth's surface, Lee Daejin and Choi Era monitored every system. Drones returned silently, feeding information that only humans could interpret. Fleets moved without broadcast, coordinated in ways that had been impossible for other species to track. Every ship, every satellite, every station followed orders perfectly, ensuring that when action began, it would be swift and unstoppable. Humans had never panicked, even when the galaxy seemed ready to strike at them. As days passed, distant stars began to show strange patterns. Systems on the outskirts of human space reported sudden failures. Observers saw ships vanish as if swallowed by space itself. No one could explain it. Reports described planets going dark, fleets disappearing without a fight. The galaxy began to feel the invisible touch of human strategy. It was precise, quiet, and terrifying. At the Galactic Academy, Park Ji-soo finally spoke to a group of students who had been hesitant to understand the truth. "You see only what you want," he said. "Humans do not announce their moves. We plan, we wait, and we act when it is necessary. Silence is not empty. It is full of action you cannot yet see." Han Yuri added, "Every fleet you watch, every sensor you trust, every prediction you make, humans have already considered. That is why you cannot stop what is coming." Alien students looked at each other, a sense of fear replacing the previous laughter. The young species had underestimated humans. Even those who studied galactic strategy were realizing that humanity was unpredictable. Unlike other civilizations, humans did not rely on numbers alone. They used cunning, planning, and patience. They understood fear, psychology, and the limits of others in ways that no one else had ever mastered. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, older species began to act cautiously. Patrols slowed, trade routes shifted, and borders became more secure. Fleets that had been aggressive began to withdraw slightly, remembering the stories of human efficiency. Humans were not just defending Earth, they were making a statement. Even without firing a shot, they were asserting control by demonstrating that their silence was not weakness, but power. Back on Earth, the surface appeared ordinary. Children played, people walked the streets, markets bustled with life. But below the surface, humans were anything but ordinary. Every operation was connected, every movement coordinated. Lee Daejin and Choi Era ensured no error occurred. The command structure was flawless, and humans executed plans with precision that was unmatched. This was not preparation for conquest. It was preparation for survival. And yet, the galaxy saw it as something far more threatening. Observation drones, which had once moved freely near Earth, now reported strange patterns. Fleets seemed to vanish, but no evidence of destruction was visible. No explosions, no radiation spikes, no debris. The humans were using strategies the galaxy did not understand. The quiet line, long considered a myth, was proving real. Every alien observer realized that the humans were not fighting in ways the galaxy expected. They were fighting in ways that were invisible until it was too late. At the academy, students whispered quietly. Counselors debated in private chambers. Even the most confident species felt tension in their systems. The humans were patient, but they were not idle. They had learned the value of timing and the danger of haste. Every movement, every plan, every calculation in the galaxy was being watched and analyzed by humans, who understood far more than anyone realized. Park Ji-soo continued to speak, explaining to alien students that humans had survived countless threats. "We have been tested before," he said. "We have faced disasters, enemies, and betrayals. And yet we remain. That is why silence is our first message. It shows that we are ready." Han Yuri nodded. "Do not mistake quiet for weakness. Our patience is our weapon, and it is sharper than any blade you have ever seen." The galaxy slowly began to accept that something was happening. Alien fleets adjusted their positions, and diplomats stopped sending empty threats. The silence of Earth was no longer an enigma, it was a warning. Every civilization began to calculate their next move more carefully, knowing that the humans had already thought through their options. The anticipation of what would come next hung heavy across star systems. As more systems reported disappearing fleets and darkened worlds, fear spread. Humans were striking without being seen, demonstrating that their methods were unlike any other species. The galaxy began to understand that the humans' advantage was not just technology or numbers, it was strategy, patience, and unpredictability. No one could match the humans in this silent war. Below the cities of Earth, Lee Dejin and Choi Era monitored every operation. Every step was calculated, every fleet maneuvered, every defense system activated. Humans worked in perfect synchronization. No mistake could occur. The quiet line dictated their moves, and the galaxy was now beginning to understand its devastating efficiency. The first real signs of human action were subtle but undeniable. Systems at the galaxy's edge disappeared from long-range scanners. Alien fleets were intercepted in ways that left no trace of battle. Drones sent for observation never returned. Even advanced civilizations were unsure how to respond. The humans had moved silently, striking where they were needed and leaving nothing behind. It was a lesson in patience, power, and efficiency. At the academy, students no longer joked. The whispers of concern grew louder. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri were calm, observing the reactions of the galaxy around them. Humans had shown their strength through quiet action, and the effects were spreading across star systems. The galaxy had begun to learn that Earth's silence was not empty. It was filled with strategy, precision, and resolve. The pattern continued. Stars grew dark in distant systems. Fleets vanished, and no signals returned. Humans remained silent, moving with perfect coordination and planning. Every alien species felt the tension. Even those who had once dismissed human power now recognized the threat. The galaxy understood that humans were not only surviving, they were controlling the narrative, demonstrating their ability to act when necessary. Silence had become the loudest message of all. And so the invisible war unfolded. No battles were fought openly, no destruction was broadcast, yet the galaxy felt the impact. Humans had shown that strategy, patience, and timing could be as powerful as any weapon. The alien students at the academy, the fleets in space, and the counselors in their chambers all realized that Earth's silence was far from passive. It was a signal of action already taken, a warning that when humans moved, it was final, precise, and unstoppable. The galaxy could feel the quiet power of Earth, and it could not ignore it. The first human message arrived after weeks of silence. It was brief, calm, and without emotion. Lee Dejin, speaking on behalf of humanity, addressed the Galactic Council. The message was simple. Humanity was executing a defensive protocol, targeting only those species who had voted to destroy Earth. There would be no occupation, no alliances forced, no chance for retaliation. Those who had threatened humans were now facing the full consequences. Across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate. Shock, disbelief, and fear spread in equal measure. Alien species tried to analyze the message, to understand if it was a bluff or a serious threat. Yet all evidence from the past weeks showed that humans had already taken action. Fleets had vanished, worlds had gone dark, and no signs of battle remained. Humans had acted silently, precisely, and effectively, demonstrating the power of patience combined with strategy. At the Galactic Academy, the students were stunned. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri observed quietly, their expressions calm. The alien students who had once mocked humans now whispered in fear and awe. The humans were not careless, not reckless, and not loud in their displays of power. They had acted with restraint and intelligence, showing that true strength often spoke in silence. Professor Kim Si-jun explained the historical context to the council and the students. Humanity had faced threats before, and each time they had survived by planning and executing strategies that others could not foresee. This latest protocol, he said, was an extension of centuries of careful thought and preparation. Humans were not simply attacking. They were protecting themselves, and ensuring that no future threat could rise from those who had tried to destroy them. In the command centers of Earth, Li Dejin and Choi Era oversaw the final phases of the operation. Every fleet, every satellite, every hidden system operated perfectly. The quiet line doctrine dictated actions with absolute precision. Humanity had learned that force alone was not enough. Timing, intelligence, and coordination were far more powerful. Every move was designed to neutralize threats while preserving the safety of Earth and its people. The galaxy watched as worlds previously hostile to humans fell into silence. Military infrastructure ceased to function. Command species vanished, unable to coordinate or respond. Alien fleets were incapacitated, not by destruction, but by strategies humans had implemented in secrecy. Observers recorded the disappearances, trying to understand how humans had achieved this without overt conflict. The answer was simple. Humans did not need to fight openly. Their planning and patience were enough. Back at the Galactic Academy, the younger alien students began to understand the lesson. Humans were different. They did not rely solely on technology or numbers. They relied on intelligence, patience, and the understanding of others' weaknesses. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri had always known this, but now those around them were realizing it too. The humans had acted, and the galaxy had felt the impact without a single visible explosion. Alien leaders who had once underestimated humans now acted cautiously. Fleets retreated from borders, diplomats avoided provocations, and trade negotiations became tentative. The galaxy understood that humans did not need to conquer to dominate. They had shown that intelligence, strategy, and preparation could be more powerful than any conventional weapon. The quiet line had proven its effectiveness. On Earth, life continued seemingly normally. Cities bustled, markets were active, and people went about daily routines. But beneath this ordinary surface, humans had executed one of the most complex and efficient defensive operations in history. Every citizen played a role, whether in monitoring, supporting, or coordinating. Earth's silence had been the cover for a vast and odd, coordinated strategy that ensured humanity's survival and neutralized all immediate threats, even the oldest. Species in the galaxy were impressed and fearful. They remembered times when humans had acted decisively, but the scale of this operation was unprecedented. Humanity had demonstrated that its power was not in brute force, but in precise, calculated action. The galaxy had been forced to confront a new reality. Humans could strike silently and with finality, and no one could ignore them. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri watched the aftermath with quiet pride. The younger alien students now treated them with respect and caution. Humans had proven that they were capable of defending themselves against overwhelming odds. The galaxy had seen that patience, intelligence, and coordinated action could outweigh technological superiority or numerical advantage. The lesson was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy adjusted. Systems that had been hostile approached cautiously, attempting communication and negotiation. Alien fleets that had been aggressive now maintained distance, wary of provoking humans. Diplomacy shifted as species realized that direct confrontation with Earth could lead to irreversible consequences. Humans had reshaped the galaxy's perception, not through war, but through controlled, decisive, and silent action. The Galactic Council, initially skeptical, now respected humanity in ways they had never before considered. Leaders who had ignored the quiet line now understood that it was not a threat for entertainment, it was a doctrine of survival and finality. Humanity had acted with precision, eliminating threats and leaving the galaxy with a message that was impossible to ignore. On Earth, Li Dejin and Choi Era oversaw the conclusion of the operation. Every system was accounted for, every threat neutralized. Humanity's actions had been measured, precise, and just. The galaxy had witnessed the consequences of underestimating Earth. Humans had shown that they were capable of defending themselves with intelligence and strategy, achieving results that no other species could match. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri prepared to leave the academy soon. Their mission was complete, and the galaxy had been taught a lesson it would not forget. Humans had acted not out of aggression, but necessity, and in doing so, they had proven that silence could be louder than any weapon. The galaxy had learned that when humans moved, it was with purpose, precision, and inevitability. The message had been clear. Earth had acted. Threats had been removed, and the galaxy now faced a new reality. Humans did not need to be loud or boastful. Their power lay in strategy, patience, and the ability to act decisively when required. The silence was over, but its meaning would echo across the galaxy forever. After the last hostile systems were neutralized, Earth began to speak again. Signals returned to the galaxy. Trade beacons, cultural broadcasts, and communication channels all came back online. To many, it seemed as though nothing had happened, yet the galaxy knew the truth. Earth's silence had been a warning, its patience a lesson, and its action a display of unmatched strategy. Across the galaxy, civilizations cautiously resumed interactions. Fleets returned to normal patrols, but there was a difference. Ships moved with care, diplomats approached Earth with respect, and trade routes were now negotiated with caution. The galaxy had learned that humans were not just another species. They were survivors, planners, and strategists capable of extraordinary patience and intelligence. At the Galactic Academy, the alien students who had once laughed at the humans now treated them with reverence. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri had observed the events silently, guiding their fellow students without overt interference. They explained that humans did not need to display strength loudly. Strategy, planning, and careful action could achieve results far greater than any demonstration of force. Their classmates listened carefully, finally understanding that humanity's power was in its intelligence and restraint. Professor Kim Si-jun addressed the council once again, reviewing the actions taken by Earth and explaining the history of the quiet line. The council understood now the humans were not reckless or aggressive. They had acted with precision to protect themselves and to remove threats efficiently. The galaxy had witnessed the consequences of underestimating humans, and it would not forget. On Earth, life appeared ordinary. Streets were filled with people, markets thrived, and children played. Yet below the surface, humans had accomplished a feat of incredible coordination. Lee Daejin and Choi Era ensured that every system functioned perfectly, from hidden fleets to underground bunkers. Every citizen had a role, whether in direct command, support, or observation. The success of Earth's plan had depended on meticulous preparation, discipline, and silent coordination. Alien fleets that had once challenged humanity now maintained their respectful distance. Leaders who had previously mocked Earth reconsidered every action. They understood that humans did not need to dominate through aggression. They could achieve results through intelligence, patience, and strategic timing. The galaxy had been taught that direct confrontation with Earth was unwise, and the lesson would be remembered for generations. At the academy, Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri prepared to return home. Their presence had been a subtle warning, a reminder of what humans were capable of. Alien students no longer questioned humanity's capabilities. They realized that humans could plan, act, and achieve results without the noise and theatrics that other species often relied upon. The quiet line had proven effective once more. Across star systems, the consequences of Earth's actions were felt. Trade and diplomacy continued, but there was a newfound caution. Every species understood that Earth could act decisively and silently, striking only when necessary, but with finality. Humans had reshaped the perception of power in the galaxy, showing that true strength lay in strategy, patience, and precision. In the months following Earth's reactivation of signals, diplomatic relations began to normalize. Alien leaders approached humans with respect, avoiding provocation. Trade resumed, but with a careful eye toward fairness and mutual benefit. The galaxy had learned that humans were not just capable of surviving, they were capable of influencing events on a scale previously unimaginable. The Galactic Council now included humanity in strategic discussions, not as a minor voice, but as a respected and formidable presence. Humans offered insights into diplomacy, strategy, and coordination that other species had not considered. The galaxy had changed, not because humans had conquered through force, but because they had demonstrated intelligence, patience, and the ability to act decisively when needed. Back on Earth, Lee Daejin and Choi Era oversaw the transition from silent preparation to normal operations. Humans had proven that their patience was as powerful as any weapon. Every citizen had contributed to the success of the operation, whether knowingly or unknowingly. The quiet line, once a secret doctrine, had become a living example of human strategy and resilience. Park Ji-soo and Han Yuri said their goodbyes to the Academy. Their mission was complete, and the galaxy had learned a vital lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. The younger alien students would carry this understanding for the rest of their lives, and older species would ensure that future interactions with Earth were conducted with respect and caution. Earth's voice had returned, but the lesson of silence would remain. The galaxy would remember that when humans were silent, it was not a sign of weakness, but of readiness. When they acted, it was precise, effective, and final. Humanity had demonstrated that intelligence, patience, and coordination could achieve results unmatched by aggression alone. The galaxy had changed forever. Alien civilizations had learned that they could not challenge Earth without consequences. Humans had shown that true power was not always loud or visible. It could be quiet, deliberate, and unstoppable. The story of Earth's silence and its ultimate message would be remembered as a turning point in galactic history, a testament to the strength of humanity. And so, Earth continued to thrive, its people living ordinary lives, unaware of the extraordinary impact they had made across the galaxy. The quiet line had proven its effectiveness once again, and the galaxy would never forget the day Earth went silent and the message it had delivered to all who had dared to threaten it.